Hey everyone, welcome back to another devlog for A Rogue's Odyssey, a roguelike dungeon crawler that I'm developing using the Godot engine. Starting things off, I made both the item room and the boss room doors look different. At first, I thought about changing the color, but it seemed off, so I decided to add something simpler instead. I added the boss skull to the boss room, and added a gold lock with some gold medals on the sides of the doors to the item room. Then, I coded it similarly to the way that I find the item and boss rooms, but using the two closest doors to those rooms instead. Afterward, I started working a bit on the shop design. I think I'm gonna make the starting room the shop, which might seem weird, but I think it can make backtracking not as boring, and it can also work out if I balance it properly. Finally, for today, I started making the first shopkeeper, Doris. I thought of having two twin shopkeepers, Doris and Boris. Doris is the overworld shopkeeper that sells you stuff outside the dungeon, not sure what yet, but nothing that will matter too much for the player's strength itself. As I mentioned before, I don't want too much meta progression in the game, just straight up in-game upgrades, and if you die, you are as powerful as you were when you booted up the game for the first time. Then I will have Boris in the dungeon shops that will sell you upgrades, items, health, and so on. Okay, so today I did a bit of touch up on shopkeeper Doris and started working on Boris. I made him a big bald dude with a mustache. I made Brom and changed the mustache color basically. These are the first characters I'm actually making, so I'm not sure if it's good enough. Drawing people is way harder than drawing monsters or animals, which can be more subjective. Later on in the day, I kept working on Boris and also decided to make both sprites a little bit different. Since you are only gonna see the upper body because they are behind the table, I can also make Boris look like a bigger dude. It has now been 5 days since the last update, but sadly I don't have much to add. I've had a rough week organizing my schedule since I worked shifts and ended up not getting much work done. I changed the shop banner to a canopy instead and finished Boris. Now that I got a few days off, I'm gonna focus on implementing the shop's basic features, having a few items on display with different prices depending on what they are, and making a currency system. I've been thinking of what type of currency to use, but I'm probably just gonna settle on gold for simplicity's sake. I am now back after a few hours of working on the Overworld shop. Took me longer than I would like, but I do tend to waste a lot of time on small details that people won't even notice. But hey, the design is done for now, and it can be easily changed if I want. You can see all the items in the Overworld items dictionary, but there's still stuff to do, like making them purchasable and making them unavailable for purchase after being bought. Okay, yesterday I said that I tend to waste a lot of time on small details and that I should probably not spend as much time on them, so obviously I spent a good part of this day overhauling the shop, making it show all items instead of one at a time and adding categories to it. After that, I worked on the in-game shop, which is a bunch of items with their price, and you can purchase them if you have enough gold, that I also implemented in the game and made a simple UI showing your gold and your crystals. Gold is the currency for the in-game shop, and crystals are the currency for the overworld shop. You will gain gold throughout your runs, and it's usable for that run only. Crystals, however, will be permanent, and will probably be earned by either defeating bosses or maybe doing some challenges. And for now you can use them to purchase new weapons or skins for those weapons. The only thing I did other than that was to create a rocket launcher sprite because I was bored with all the UI stuff and wanted to do something different for a bit. Today I finished the shops in a way that I'm content with. I then updated Godot to 4.1, which threw me an error about pathfinding, and even though it seems like it wasn't affecting the game, I spent a lot of time trying to fix it. And since that wasn't happening, I just put it in the bugs list and moved on into adding a pistol into the game. I made this sprite and also made an Excel sheet to enter the stats of my weapons and made a simple DPS calculation to try and balance my weapons. The pistol and shotgun have similar DPS, the rocket launcher is a bit lower but will have AoE damage to compensate. Then I started working on the overworld. I put the shop there, some stairs to enter the dungeon and an armory where your weapons will be displayed. I do have some stuff to do and will also participate in the GMTK Game Jam 2023, in which I'm planning to work on a video about it, and at the time this devlog comes out, that video should already exist. This means that you will now see me in 2 seconds anyway, but for me it's gonna be about a week till the next update. Here we are, as aforementioned, 2 seconds, aka over a week after working on the game for the last time. And today I managed to finish the overworld. There is a functional shop, an armory where you can switch weapons to bring it to the caves, and the entrance to set caves. I am really noticing the advantages of using inheritance and composition, as a lot of stuff I'm doing is already somewhat pre-made. I have a base weapon and bullet scenes and just have to export the correct PNGs and set up the variables and it's done. I made different bullets for the weapons and also added this particle effect to the rocket as it's traveling and an explosion effect that also deals AoE damage, which is area of effect, equal to half the rocket's damage. I added an armory weapon node that takes in the weapon's parameters and helps switch weapons. It calls the switch weapon function in my player and it sets up the variables accordingly. I also made the current weapon and current bullet part of my player stats autoload to be able to keep them between scenes. Finally, I added a transition when you're entering the dungeon and another one when you enter the boss fight. I didn't have much time today, but I'm done with this overworld segment and I'm going to start tackling the implementation of a minimap in the future. Okay, so today I started working on the minimap. I mostly went back to my dungeon generation code and added some lines when I'm making the rooms, to also add the rooms to a canvas layer in the same order by dividing the room's positions by the room size, which makes every room 1 by 1 pixel, and then multiply it by 24, which is the size of the minimap room sprite. Then I defined the current minimap room at the center of the node, and when I change rooms, I pass the corresponding value into the existing room change function, so if I move right, the current minimap room will be in position 24,0. I also moved the rooms node to the opposite side to make the current room always at the center and make the other rooms slightly darker. I now need to make the unvisited rooms even darker by using a dictionary, similar to the way that I use with the regular rooms. I also need to define the special rooms and add icons to them. Okay, this might be the final day. I'm still working on the minimap. I made the rooms the brightest when you are in them, and the other ones are either bright or dark, depending on whether you have visited them or not. I then made the minimap be zoomable, which means I spent way more time than I would like on it because I'm defining most rooms by their position, so if I zoom in, everything will be in a different position, meaning I will need different calculations for both scenarios. This is now functional though, and I even added a boss and item icon to the respective rooms, which I am doing when I call the functions to find these rooms. I get the boss room position, divided by the room size and multiplied by 24. Then I compare this position to the minimap room positions, and if it's within 2 pixels to prevent rounding issues, I define it as the minimap boss room and add the icon to it. I don't need to worry about the minimap size here because this is only done once and it's when the game loads up. Then I created some vine sprites to add to the rooms. I made a node with 20 sprites, and at the start it has a 20% chance of picking a sprite out of these 3, otherwise it just deletes the node. Finally, I added a starting room icon to the minimap and made a shop spawn on the starting room, and this ends the minimap arc. So the first item on the list for the next video is make enemy rooms drop rewards. For now I'll make them drop gold, and later we'll add key drops to open the item rooms. Anyways, thank you for watching, and as always, I hope that you learned something from this video. Till next time.